4 o'clock this afternoon. I'm gonna go to bed till 9 a.m. I kind of like this jingle. It had to like grow on you. You know what I mean? They got some awful stuff you gotta go through listening to the YouTube experience. I'm telling you, I thought my ears were gonna bleed after about 3 hours. Some of that stuff's funky. I was like, dang. So, hey, Karen, did you hear about the CWD is now transformed into human cases? I think, what is it, Michigan and Florida, there's a couple cases now. They said the deers kind of, the deers were getting it. And they kind of act like they're drunk, and they got the droopy head and the tongue hanging out. And hey, Dev, welcome. Yeah. Did they notify you? Yeah. Hey, Carp. Yeah, it's a whole shadow screwery. Let me see something here. I'm gonna keep an eye on my analytics because I seen that some of the power, it didn't look like I had good streams going. So let's check it out. Streams going. So let's check. Oh, we'll mute that down here. Go into the analytics. Well, okay, it says it's good. That's good. Yeah. Carp, I'm starting to think that I mean it's really, really hard. Hey, Drop. Is Drop in? No, Drop's not in. Is he in? Hey, New England. It's real weird that there would be something from animals that would transfer to humans. So from what I'm told, it's like fecal matter. I'm guessing it spreads kind of like hepatitis, the one hepatitis, bodily fluids, stuff like that. So I mean, I don't know if deer poop in the cornfield or something, but maybe it'll get into the food. I mean, I don't even know how these people caught it. It's a mystery to me. I got to trim my hair. But it's weird for something to jump species. In the burbs, yeah. It just seems weird it's jumping species. But I don't know. If I really hated mankind, I'd light up a couple deer with that, and because the main thing is, well, they've poisoned most of the water already. So he who controls the food and the water controls the masses. And there's just so many people now, so I'm guessing, you know what I mean? I don't know. And my stream stats are good, Carp. Let me see. It under the analytics, it's saying it's good. Usually, after the show, I usually check everything. Let's see. Let me go into analytics again. Here's a different. I'm still learning all this crap. Let's see. It dipped down. Now it's going back up. It was running at 360p. Now it's back up to 480. I had this set up where it's supposed to be running a lot higher. Hey, engine. Red. Yeah, no, Carpenter, it dipped down a teeny bit. I don't know what's going on. I think I need to call the provider. See what they got to say about it. Maybe I got to up the service or something to do live stream. Can you hear me? Everybody hear me? Yeah, because I usually reboot before I go on, because I got to make sure that the mic and the speaker's on and all that stuff. Cool. So yeah, that's the CWD, I think it is. Look, keep your eyes out for what you hear. North, I don't know. Dang it. Yeah, it dipped all the way down. Dang. I don't know what else to do. I'm not moving around, or let's see if it picks back up a second. I'm looking. I don't have any green. Dang. Hey, North. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the analytics on the show because a few times, like a couple people said that when after the show I go back, I look at everything. So I don't know, but I think we're gonna have a caller tonight. Yay! Guess who we're gonna hear from? Y'all never get to hear Dev's voice, so she's gonna call in, see what's on her mind. Um, they most hate it. You're a bad, bad, bad little munchkin. Do you know that all my comments got rated? That there was at least 50. There was like 119 comments last night. Yeah. So I woke up this morning and as usual, everything's edited. Stuff has a way of turning up missing. I'm going to call YouTube. I got a couple pictures. I'd like to know what's up with that. Maybe there's a super mod or something like that that can get in and edit stuff. Uh, they're just gone. Absolutely gone. I got one person that got pictures of most of it, so I want everything restored. I went back to Pat's chat too, and that was edited very nicely. Yeah, they're just gone. They were edited. They were there and now they're not. I don't know if hey Gus, I don't know if I took pictures with my camera, but somebody else took some pictures. Because I was like, I kind of left it there. I'm trying to bury the hatchet with Belle. I've never had anything against Belle. You know what I mean? And for Aaron, for Pat, for Don, this stuff has to be squashed. You know, this infighting, I don't know. Basically, if I don't like somebody, I'm just not going to talk to them. I don't have to engage in conversation. So, and then there was something else that was being done where somebody said, "Oh, I got evidence." Yeah, too bad it was a setup. Oh, ha, ha, ha. So, something that actually Don knew about it. North, you knew about it. And I knew about it. But we got the information we needed from that. Okay, Dev, I'll start. I found this really cool show the other day, and it's about the Illuminati. It's from like 50 years ago. BitChute, yeah, BitChute. Yeah, yeah. Well, the new, about what was it, a week or two ago, they turned around and they got another new algorithm program. So, but if to go into people's comments and take out what I don't think it was YouTube. You know what I mean? I mean, how are I think it's somebody that holds a wrench and is a super mod wherever they want to go. I'm pretty sure I know who it is. But I'm gonna give YouTube a call. Yeah. Hey, I had it out with you too, so I didn't hold it against you. That's 3 weeks past. I don't hold anything against anyone. It's about what happened yesterday or the day before, which a lot of stuff is getting edited. And I think what's going to end up happening, just to see, I think I'm going to make this chat enabled. So nobody's going to be able to drop down the chat and take anything out. So if I hide the chat. Oh, okay, Dev. So we got 9 peeps. Anybody else? They come in. Yeah, I always drop the link. So anyway, this is a 50-year-old recording that proves everything. And it's about pretty much Illuminati, little history about the Rothschilds, all that stuff we always wanted to know and just didn't have time. So let's get it rocking and rolling.
Who have been orchestrating these events since the beginning of time.
This satanic plot was launched back in the 1760s when it first came into existence under the name of the Illuminati. This Illuminati was organized by one Adam Weishaupt, born a Jew, who was converted to Catholicism.
Stuck. Where he's stuck.
And became a Catholic priest. And then, at the behest of the then newly organized House of Rothschild, defected and organized the Illuminati. Naturally, the Rothschilds financed that operation. And every war since then, beginning with the French Revolution, has been promoted by the Illuminati, operating under various names and guises. I say under various names and guises because after the Illuminati was exposed and became too notorious, Weishaupt and his co-conspirators began to operate under various other names. In the United States, immediately after World War I, they set up what they called the Council on Foreign Relations, commonly referred to as the CFR. And this CFR is actually the Illuminati in the United States. And its hierarchy, the masterminds in control of the CFR, to a very great extent, are the descendants of the original Illuminati conspirators.
Cheers,
but
Bell.
To conceal that fact, most of them changed their original family names to American-sounding names. For example, the true name of the Dillons, Clarence and Douglas Dillon, once Secretary of the U.S. Treasury Department, is Lepowski. I'll come back to all this later. There is a similar establishment of the Illuminati in England, operating under the name of the British Institute of International Affairs. There are similar secret Illuminati organizations in France, Germany, and other nations.
Gosh, I never
operating
got
under
through the whole
different
thing.
names. And
Yeah,
all these
Belle, this is really
organizations,
good. I thought you
including
guys
the
would be
CFR,
interested.
continuously set up numerous subsidiary or front organizations that are infiltrated into every phase of the
Cool bean,
various
guys.
nations' affairs. But at all times, the operations of these organizations were and are masterminded and controlled by the internationalist bankers, who in turn were and are controlled by the Rothschilds.
Hi, Don.
One branch of the Rothschild family had financed Napoleon. Another branch of the Rothschilds,
Okay,
both branches,
thanks,
the real
Don.
masterminds of the
We'll
Illuminati,
come in afterwards.
financed Britain, Germany, and the other nations in the Napoleonic Wars. Immediately after the Napoleonic Wars, the Illuminati assumed
Good, Gus.
that all the nations were so destitute and so weary of wars that they'd be glad for any solution. So the Rothschild stooges set up what they called the Congress in Vienna, and at that meeting they tried to create the first League of Nations, their first attempted one world government, on the theory that all the crowned heads of the European governments were so deeply in debt to them that they would willingly or unwillingly serve as their stooges. But the Tsar of Russia caught the stench of the plot and completely torpedoed it. The enraged Nathan Rothschild, then the head of that dynasty, vowed that someday he or his descendants would destroy the Tsar and his entire family. And his descendants did accomplish that very threat in 1917. At this point, bear in mind that the Illuminati was not set up to operate on a short-range basis. Normally, a conspirator of any type enters into a conspiracy with the expectation of achieving his objective during his own lifetime. But that was not the case with the Illuminati. True, they hoped to accomplish their objective during their lifetime. But, paraphrasing The Show Must Go On, the Illuminati operates on the very long-range basis. Whether it will take scores of years or even centuries, they have dedicated their descendants to keep the plot boiling until they hope the conspiracy is achieved. Now let's go back to the birth of the Illuminati. Adam Weishaupt was a Jesuit-trained professor of canon law, teaching in Ingolstadt University when he defected from Christianity to embrace the Luciferian conspiracy. It was in 1770 that the professional moneylenders, the then recently organized House of Rothschild, retained him to revise and modernize the age-old protocols of Zionism, which from the outset was designed to give the Synagogue of Satan, so named by Jesus Christ, ultimate world domination,
Kind of like
so
a
they could
Satan's
impose the
reject.
Luciferian ideology upon what would remain of the human race after the final social cataclysm by use of satanic despotism. Weishaupt completed his task May 1st, 1776. Now you know why May 1 is the great day with all communist nations to this very day. That was the day, May 1, 1776, that Weishaupt completed his plan and officially organized the Illuminati to put the plan into execution. That plan required the destruction of all existing governments and religions. That objective was to be reached by dividing the masses of people whom he, Weishaupt, termed Goyim, or human cattle, into opposing camps in ever-increasing numbers on political, social, economic, and other issues, the very conditions we have in our country today. The opposing sides were then to be armed and incidents provided which would cause them to fight and weaken themselves and gradually destroy
Hi, Ed.
national
Hey,
governments
Club.
and religious institutions. Again, I say, the very conditions in the world today. Now, just why did the conspirators choose the word Illuminati for their satanic organization? Weishaupt himself said that the word is derived from Lucifer and means holders of the light, using the lie that his objective was to bring about a one-world government to enable those with mental ability to govern the world and prevent all wars in the future. In short, using the word peace on earth as his bait, exactly as that same bait, peace, was used by the 1945 conspirators to foist the United Nations on us. Weishaupt, financed, I repeat, by the Rothschilds, recruited some 2,000 paid followers. These included the most intelligent men in the fields of arts and letters, education, the sciences, finance, and industry. He then established lodges of the Grand Orient, Masonic lodges, to be their secret headquarters. And I again repeat that in all of this, he was acting under orders from the House of Rothschild. The main features of the Weishaupt plan of operation required his Illuminati to do the following things to help them to accomplish their purpose. Number one, use monetary and sex bribery to obtain control of men already in high places in the various levels of all governments and other fields of endeavor. Once influential persons had fallen for the lies, deceits, and temptations of the Illuminati, they were to be held in bondage by application of political and other forms of blackmail, threats of financial ruin, public exposure and physical harm, even death, to themselves and loved members of their families. Do you realize how many present top officials in our federal government in Washington are controlled in just that way by the CFR? Number two, Illuminati on the faculties of colleges and universities were to cultivate students possessing exceptional mental ability, belonging to well-bred families with international leanings, and recommend them for special training in internationalism. Such training was to be provided by granting scholarships to those selected by the Illuminists. That gives you an idea what a Rhodes Scholarship means. It means indoctrination into accepting the idea that only a one-world government can put an end to recurring wars and strife. That's how the United Nations was sold to the American people. All such scholars were to be first persuaded and then convinced that men of special talent and brains have the right to rule those less gifted on the ground that the masses don't know what is best for them physically, mentally, and spiritually. Number three, all influential people trapped into coming under the control of the Illuminati, plus the students who had been specially educated and trained, were to be used as agents and placed behind the scenes of all governments as
not yet, Gus.
And specialists, so they would advise the top executives to adopt policies which would, in the long run, serve the secret plans of the Illuminati one-world conspiracy and bring about the destruction of the governments and religions they were elected or appointed to serve. Number four, perhaps the most vital directive in Weishaupt's plan was to obtain absolute control of the press, at that time the only mass communications media, to distribute information to the public, so that all news and information could be slanted, so that the masses could be convinced that a one-world government is the only solution to our many and varied problems. Now do you know who owns and controls our mass communications media? I'll tell you, practically all the movie lots in Hollywood is owned by the Lehmans, Kuhn Loeb and Company, Goldman Sachs, and other internationalist bankers. All the national radio and TV channels in the nation are owned and controlled by those same internationalist bankers. The same is true of every chain of metropolitan newspapers and magazines, also of the press wire services, such as Associated Press, United Press International, etc. The supposed heads of all those media are merely the fronts for the internationalist bankers, who in turn compose the hierarchy of the CFR, today's Illuminati in America. Now can you understand why the Pentagon's press agent Sylvester so brazenly proclaimed that the government has the right to lie to the people? What he really meant was that our CFR-controlled government had the power to lie to and be believed by the brainwashed American people. And let's again go back to the first days of the Illuminati. Because Britain and France were the two greatest world powers in the late years of the 18th century, Weishaupt ordered the Illuminati to foment the colonial wars, including our Revolutionary War, to weaken the British Empire and organize the French Revolution to destroy the French Empire. He scheduled the French Revolution to start in 1789. However, in 1784, a true act of God placed the Bavarian government in possession of evidence which proved the existence of the Illuminati, and that evidence could have saved France if they, the French government, hadn't refused to believe it. Here is how that act of God happened. It was in 1874 that Weishaupt issued his orders for the French Revolution. A German writer named Zwack put it into book form. It contained the entire Illuminati story and Weishaupt's plans. A copy of this book was sent to the Illuminists in France, headed by Robespierre, whom Weishaupt had delegated to foment the French Revolution. The courier was struck and killed by lightning as he rode through Ralston on his way from Frankfurt to Paris. The police found the subversive documents on his body and turned them over to the proper authorities. After careful study of the plot, the Bavarian government ordered the police to raid Weishaupt's newly organized lodges of the Grand Orient and the homes of his most influential associates. All additional evidence thus discovered convinced the authorities the documents were genuine copies of the conspiracy by which the Illuminati planned to use wars and revolutions to bring about the establishment of a one-world government, the powers of which they, headed by the Rothschilds, intended to usurp as soon as it was established. Exactly in line with the United Nations plot of today. In 1785, the Bavarian government outlawed the Illuminati and closed the lodges of the Grand Orient. In 1786, they published all the details of the conspiracy. The English title of that publication is The Original Writings of the Order and Sect of the Illuminati. Copies of the entire conspiracy were sent to all the heads of church and state in Europe. But the power of the Illuminati, which was actually the power of the Rothschilds, was so great that this warning was ignored. Nevertheless, Illuminati became a dirty word, and it went underground. At the same time, Weishaupt ordered Illuminists to infiltrate into the lodges of Blue Masonry and form their own secret societies within all secret societies. Only Masons who proved themselves internationalists and those whose conduct proved they had defected from God were initiated into the Illuminati.
Well, we hoped it would.
The conspirators donned the cloak of philanthropy and humanitarianism to conceal their revolutionary and subversive activities. In order to infiltrate into Masonic lodges in Britain, Weishaupt invited John Robison over to Europe. Robison was a high-degree Mason in the Scottish Rite. He was a professor of natural philosophy at Edinburgh University and secretary of the Royal Society of Edinburgh. Robison did not fall for the lie that the objective of the Illuminati was to create a benevolent dictatorship, but he kept his reactions to himself so
It's
well
called
that he
50-Year-Old
was
Recording
entrusted with a
Proves
copy of
Everything
Weishaupt's
by
revised
End Times
conspiracy
Production.
for study and safekeeping. Anyway, because the heads of state and church in France were deluded into ignoring the warnings given them, the revolution broke out in 1789
Hi, Daria.
as scheduled by Weishaupt. In order to alert other governments to their danger, in 1798 Robison published a book entitled Proof of a Conspiracy to Destroy All Governments and Religions. But his warnings were ignored, exactly as our American people have been ignoring all warnings about the United Nations and the Council on Foreign Relations, the CFR.
Ugh.
Now, here is something that will stun and very likely outrage many who hear this. But there is documentary proof that our own Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton became students of Weishaupt's. Jefferson was one of Weishaupt's strongest defenders when he was outlawed by his government. And it was Jefferson
Yeah, it went
who
down.
infiltrated the Illuminati into the then newly organized lodges of the Scottish Rite in New England.
It's going back
Here
up.
is
The
the
buffer
proof.
room should stop.
In 1789, John Robison warned all Masonic leaders in America that the Illuminati had infiltrated into their lodges. And on July 19, 1789, David Papin, president of Harvard University,
Yeah,
issued
it's
the
going
same
back
warning
up.
to the graduating class and lectured them on the influence Illuminism was acquiring on American politics and religion.
It's good, Daria.
And to top it off,
Been getting lots of
John
sleep.
Quincy Adams, who had organized the New England Masonic lodges, issued his warnings. He
Yeah.
wrote 3 letters to Colonel William L. Stone, a top Mason, in which he exposed how Jefferson was using Masonic lodges for subversive, Illuministic purposes. Those 3 letters are at this very time in written.
Now, this is a part of Jefferson I never actually heard. So this right here was like, whoa. So, actually, a real good friend loved Jefferson, and I've never heard that he was a part of the Illuminati. So this kind of freaked me out on the show.
Wittenberg Square Library in Philadelphia. In 1826, one Captain William Morgan decided it was his duty to inform all Masons and the general public
Me too,
what the
Injun.
full truth was regarding the Illuminati, their secret plans and intended objectives. Also reveal the identities
Eileen,
of the
you're all right,
masterminds
man.
of the conspiracy.
It's cool.
The
Get you some
Illuminati
food.
promptly tried Morgan in absentia and convicted him of treason. They ordered one Richard Howard, an English Illuminist, to carry out their sentence of execution as a traitor. Morgan was warned and he tried to escape to Canada, but Howard caught up with him near the border, near the Niagara Gorge to be exact, where he murdered him. This was verified in a sworn statement made in New York by one Avery Allen to the effect that he heard Howard render his report of the execution to a meeting of Knights Templars in St. John's Hall, New York. He also told how arrangements had been made to ship Howard back to England. That Allen affidavit is on record in New York City archives. Very few Masons and very few of the general public know that general disapproval over that incident of murder caused approximately half of all the Masons in the northern jurisdiction of the United States to secede. Copies of the minutes of the meeting held to discuss that matter are still in existence in safe hands, and that all that secrecy emphasizes the power of the masterminds of the Illuminati to prevent such terrible events of history from being taught in our schools. The Rothschilds decided that to keep the plot alive, they'd have to do it by heightening their control of the money systems of the European nations. Earlier, by a ruse, the outcome of the Battle of Waterloo had been falsified. Rothschild had spread a story that Napoleon had won that battle. That had precipitated a terrific panic on the stock market in England. All stocks had plummeted down to practically zero, and Nathan Rothschild bought all the stocks for virtually a penny on its dollar values. That gave him complete control of the economy of Britain and virtually of all Europe. So immediately after that Congress in Vienna had boomeranged, Rothschild forced Britain to set up a new Bank of England, which he absolutely controlled, exactly as later, through Jacob Schiff, he engineered our own Federal Reserve Act, which gave the House of Rothschild a secret control of the economy in the United States. Weishaupt died in 1830, but prior to his death, he prepared a revised version of the age-old conspiracy, the Illuminati, which, under various aliases, was to organize, finance, direct, and control all international organizations and groups by working their agents into executive positions at the top. In the United States, we have Woodrow Wilson, Franklin Roosevelt, Jack Kennedy, Johnson, Rusk, McNamara, Fulbright, etc. as prime examples. In addition, while Karl Marx was writing the Communist Manifesto under the direction of one group of Illuminists, Professor Karl Ritter of Frankfurt University was writing the antithesis under direction of another group. The idea was that those who direct the overall conspiracy could use the differences in those two so-called ideologies to enable them to divide larger and larger members of the human race into opposing camps so that they could be armed and then brainwashed into fighting and destroying each other, and particularly to destroy all political and religious institutions. The work Ritter started was continued after his death and completed by the German so-called philosopher Friedrich Wilhelm Nietzsche, who founded Nietzscheism. This Nietzscheism was later developed into fascism and then into Nazism and was used to foment World Wars I and II. In 1834, the Italian revolutionary leader Giuseppe Mazzini was selected by the Illuminati to direct their revolutionary program throughout the world. He served in that capacity until he died in 1872. But some years before he died, Mazzini had enticed an American general named Albert Pike into the Illuminati. Pike was fascinated by the idea of a one-world government, and ultimately he became the head of this Luciferian conspiracy. Between 1859 and 1871, he, Pike, worked out a military blueprint for 3 world wars and various revolutions throughout the world. Again, I remind that these conspirators were never concerned with immediate success. They always operated on a long-range view. Pike did most of his work in his home in Little Rock, Arkansas. But a few years later, when the Illuminati's lodges of the Grand Orient became suspect and repudiated because of Mazzini's revolutionary activities in Europe, Pike organized what he called the New and Reformed Palladian Rite. He set up 3 Supreme Councils, one in Charleston, South Carolina, one in Rome, Italy, and the 3rd in Berlin, Germany. He had Mazzini establish 23 subordinate councils in strategic locations throughout the world. These have been the secret headquarters of the world revolutionary movement ever since. Long before Marconi invented radio, the scientists in the Illuminati had found the means for Pike and the heads of his councils to communicate secretly. It was the discovery of that secret that enabled intelligence officers to understand how apparently unrelated incidents, one such as the assassination of an Austrian prince at Sarajevo, took place simultaneously throughout the world, which developed into a war or a revolution. Pike's plan was as simple as it has proved effective. It called for communism, Nazism, political Zionism, and other international movements be organized and used to foment 3 global world wars and at least 2 major revolutions. The First World War was to be fought so as to enable the Illuminati to destroy Tsarism in Russia, as vowed by Rothschild after the Tsar had torpedoed his scheme at the Congress in Vienna, and to transform Russia into a stronghold of atheistic communism. The differences stirred up by agents of the Illuminati between the British and German empires were to be used to foment this war. After the war would be ended, communism was to be built up and used to destroy other governments and weaken religions. World War II, when and if necessary, was to be fomented by using the controversies between fascists and political Zionists. And here let it be noted that Hitler was financed by Krupp, the Warburgs, the Rothschilds, and other internationalist bankers, and that the slaughter of the supposed 600,000 Jews by Hitler didn't bother the Jewish internationalist bankers at all. That slaughter was necessary in order to create worldwide hatred of the German people and thus bring about the war against them. In short, this Second World War was to be fought to destroy Nazism and to increase the power of political Zionism so that the State of Israel could be established in Palestine. As we know now, Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin put that exact policy into effect, and Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, and Johnson continued that same exact policy. World War III is to be fomented by using the so-called controversies the agents of the Illuminati, operating under whatever new name, are now stirring up between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Muslim world. That war is to be directed in such a manner that all of Islam and political Zionism, Israel, will destroy each other, while at the same time the remaining nations, once more divided on this issue, will be forced to fight themselves into a state of complete exhaustion, physically, mentally, spiritually, and economically. Now, can any thinking person doubt that the intrigue now going on in the Near, Middle, and Far East is designed to accomplish that satanic objective? Pike himself foretold all this in a statement he made to Mazzini on August 15, 1871. Pike stated, "Those who will inspire to undisputed world domination will provoke the greatest social cataclysm the world has ever known." Quoting his own words, taken from the letter he wrote to Mazzini, and which letter is now catalogued in the British Museum in London, England, he said, "We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a great social cataclysm which in all its horror will show clearly to all nations the effect of absolute atheism, the origin of savagery and of most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the people forced to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity,
that's what I
whose
call
deistic spirits will be from that moment on without direction and leadership, and anxious for an ideal but without knowledge where to send its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out into public view, a manifestation which will result
Stream
from a
looks good
general
now.
reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. When Mazzini died in 1872, Pike made another Italian revolutionary leader named Adrian Lemmy his successor. Lemmy, in turn, was succeeded by Lenin and Trotsky, then by Stalin. The revolutionary activities of all those men were financed by British, French, German, and American international bankers, all of them dominated by the House of Rothschild. We are supposed to believe that the international bankers of today, like the money changers of Christ's day, are only the tools or agents of the great conspiracy, but actually they are the masterminds behind all of it. While the general public has been brainwashed by all the mass communications media, the actual fact is that both British and American intelligence officers have authentic documentary evidence that international liberals operating through their international banking houses, particularly the House of Rothschild, have financed both sides in every war and revolution since 1776.
Who does that?
Those who today comprise the conspiracy, the CFR in the United States, direct our government,
film
whom they hold in
for an
usury
hour
through such methods as the Federal Reserve System in America, to fight wars such as Vietnam, created by the United Nations, so as to further Pike's Illuminati plans to bring the world to that stage of the conspiracy. The headquarters of the great conspiracy in the late 1700s was in Frankfurt, Germany, where the House of Rothschild had been established by Mayer Anschelm, who adopted the Rothschild name and linked together other international financiers who had literally sold their souls to the devil. After the Bavarian government's exposure in 1786, the conspirators moved their headquarters to Switzerland, then to London.
Hold on, I'm going to comment about something. I actually had a look-see, and there was there were 5 different things on me by my stalker, right? One was taken down. I guess I looked too cute. And the other one that was left up got more views than mostly anything she's ever posted, because all you see is a picture of me. And then, of course, she did one on a day I was really sick. I was swelled up. Yeah, I didn't know that there was mold in the house. And she did something screwed up to it. And then she sat there and recorded some chats, which was something that North, Don, and me were in on to figure out who's who. So, and then North and I started having issues in a chat. And so, yeah, we were doing something really sneaky. You know, it's like, get a life. Any life but mine. Who does this stuff? She's a freak of nature. There's something wrong with the girl. They need to change her medications or something. You know, I mean, really? You're going to sit there and record somebody on their show? Hi, Bella. I mean, but apparently she has no content. She has absolutely no content. I mean, you don't see her do anything. You don't see her go live. She just wants to take, some film of somebody and make fun of them. But apparently she doesn't have a whole lot of friends because there's not a whole lot of views. I think between Mikey and me, that was probably her best viewed shows. So, yeah, really stupid. I did something creative last night, and I didn't put it out there because I would be just as bad as her. So, you know what I mean? I keep my eyes on things, but it just makes her look retarded. I mean, you know, she's just, I don't know. But yes, I guess maybe I should feel like, I don't know, how many other people have a personal stalker? Just saying. Oh, Ed, you know who. Who had to skip around through all the freaking chat rooms to find me, go after me, and then a room owner seen it and deranged her. I don't want to, I really don't want to give her name because I don't want to promote her channel. How do you like them apples? Let's get back to the show. Freaking Satan reject. Oh, and somehow or another, Froggy ended up back in the Bad Boy channel. Somebody had went in, edited my comments, and blocked Froggy again. This the second or third time I had to pull him out of the doghouse. Freaking childish stuff. I'm gonna end up calling YouTube Monday, tomorrow. Wow, duh, today's Sunday. I'm gonna call YouTube tomorrow and see what can be done about it. Because if there's like a super mod or something, I'm gonna toss out a few names and see what they have to say about it. That had like I think the one video had over 100 comments and people were hashing it out. Gone this morning. But we got pictures.
World War II. After Jacob Schiff, the Rothschild's boy in America, died, the headquarters of the American branch has been in the Harold Pratt Building, New York. And the Rockefellers, originally protégés of Schiff, have taken over the manipulation of finances in America for the Illuminati. In the final phases of the conspiracy, the one world government will consist of the king dictator, head of the United Nations, the CFR, and a few billionaires, economists, and scientists who have proved their devotion to the great conspiracy. All others are to be integrated into a vast conglomeration of mongrelized humanity, actually slaves. Now let me show you how our federal government and the American people have been sucked into the one world takeover plot of the Illuminati Great Conspiracy. And always bear in mind that the United Nations was created to become the housing for that one world so-called liberal conspiracy. The real foundations of the plot for the takeover of the United States were laid during the period of our Civil War. Not that Weishaupt and the earlier masterminds had ever overlooked the New World. As I have previously indicated, Weishaupt had his agents planted over here as far back as the Revolutionary War. But George Washington was more than a match for them. It was during the Civil War that the conspirators launched their first concrete efforts. We know that Judah Benjamin, chief advisor of Jefferson Davis, was a Rothschild agent. We also know that there were Rothschild agents planted in Abraham Lincoln's cabinet who tried to sell him into a financial dealing with the House of Rothschild. But old Abe saw through the scheme and bluntly rejected it, thereby incurring the undying enmity of the Rothschilds, exactly as the Russian Tsar did when he torpedoed their first League of Nations at the Congress in Vienna. Investigation of the assassination of Lincoln revealed that the assassin, Booth, was a member of a secret conspiratorial group. Because there were a number of highly important government officials involved, the name of the group was never revealed, and it became a mystery, exactly as the assassination of Jack Kennedy still is a mystery. The ending of the Civil War destroyed, temporarily, all chances of the House of Rothschild to get a clutch on our money system, such as they had acquired in Britain and other nations in Europe. I say temporarily because the Rothschilds and the masterminds of the conspiracy never quit. So they had to start from scratch, but they lost no time in getting started. Shortly after the Civil War, a young immigrant who called himself Jacob H. Schiff, arrived in New York. Jacob was a young man with a mission for the House of Rothschild. Jacob was the son of a rabbi, born in one of Rothschild's houses in Frankfurt, Germany. I won't go deeply into his background. The important point is that Rothschild recognized in him not only a potential money wizard, but more important, he also saw the latent Machiavellian qualities in Jacob that could, as it did, make him an invaluable functionary in the great one-world conspiracy. After a comparatively brief training period in the Rothschilds' London bank, Jacob left for America with instructions to buy into a banking house, which was to be the springboard to acquire control of the money system of the United States. Actually, Jacob came here to carry out 4 specific assignments. Number 1, and most important, was to acquire control of America's money system. Number 2, find desirable men who, for a price, would be willing to serve as stooges for the great conspiracy and promote them into high places in our federal government, our Congress, in the U.S. Supreme Court, and all federal agencies. Number 3, create minority group strife throughout the nations, particularly between whites and blacks. Number 4, create a movement to destroy religion in the United States, but Christianity to be the chief target. Now, the vast majority of the American people think that the Federal Reserve System is a United States government-owned agency. That is positively false. All of the stock of the Federal Reserve banks is owned by the member banks, and the heads of the member banks are all members of the hierarchy of the great Illuminati conspiracy known today as the CFR. The details of that act of treason in which many traitorous so-called Americans participated are far too long for this recording. Now, if you think that those aliens and their by accident of birth American co-conspirators would be content with just the control of our money system, you're in for another very sad shock. The Federal Reserve System gave the conspirators complete control of our money system, but it in no way touched the earnings of the people, because the Constitution positively forbids what is now known as the 20% withholding tax. But the Illuminati blueprint for one-world enslavement called for the confiscation of all private property and control of individual earning powers. This, and Karl Marx stressed that feature in his blueprint, had to be accomplished by a progressive graduated income tax. As I stated, such a tax could not lawfully be imposed upon the American people. It is succinctly and expressly forbidden by our Constitution. Thus, only an amendment to the Constitution could give the federal government such confiscatory powers. Well, that too was not an insurmountable problem.
Gambit, when InfoWars went down, a lot of us just opened up chat rooms. And, Pat was all busted up. But it takes a lot out of someone's day to do 2-3 hours, and to be steady about it. So, he didn't know what was going on. He was still healing. So, things are going to be things. I think if they're going to end up working themselves out eventually. So, did anyone hear of a geomagnetic storm? Yeah, right, Dev. So everybody kind of created a bit of a channel so we could all stay together. Once they took InfoWars off the YouTube, it was all about that. And Aaron puts a lot of work into it. Gosh, he took over for Pat. So, there's people that are, trying to do some kind of content, even if it's, well, I'm low tech, so, we do like a radio show. Um, but everybody does put a lot of effort, and, unfortunately, stuff got out of hand. Yeah, you know why, Engine? Last time, and I didn't know what was happening, but we had a geomagnetic storm, and my hair started freaking going like this. The house actually held a charge. It does, Gambit. So tonight I was vacuuming in here because I've been cleaning, wiping everything down and everything. And then all of a sudden my hair got more static. It was sticking in my face. I was like, what the heck's going on? I'm like, are we having another geomagnetic storm today or what? I mean, I had feathers that just, how they're normal. Oh, I don't have a feather in here. Um, how they're normal and they go down the quill. Well, it literally separated each one of those. It was weird in this house. And then it must have been like a plasma storm. This was almost a year ago. And then we had lightning bolts going sideways through the house. And I looked at Kev and I'm like, did you see that? And he's like, uh-huh. And my sister even seen it out in Charlotte. So it was quite weird. And it was like I started looking around on the internet and bam, I found out it was a geomagnetic storm. I think it was January 15th, 2018, in February 19th, 2018. So our household held a charge for about a month. He was going to bring, he's got these bracelets he has to wear because sometimes he does government contracts and he walks into like a warehouse of nothing but computers. So he has to wear anklets and bracelets, and then so he doesn't have any static, because if he touches something and it sparks, it can screw up a computer. So, but it was quite bizarre. Get out. No way. Are you serious, Gambit? Daria, try some iodine. I'm not a doctor. Ask your doctor if you have any blood work or anything. See how your iodine level is. But I've got MS, and I had muscles that were so balled up. Oh my God! Sometimes my skin everywhere would feel like I'm bruised. And I had ordered some X22, and I put a drop or two. I did it for about 3 weeks. X2, that's right. The X2, and I put like a drop or two in a little shot glass with some juice. And I took it on an empty stomach. And in about 3 weeks, I was going like this. And it was like, I mean, all those muscles were just snapping out of being balled up. And what was it someone else was telling me? Oh, it's an extract oil. Ooh, and that'll take some toxic metals out. Drop told me to get some. I'm telling you, there's screwery going on, Gambit. Screwery going on. Oh, Daria. But anyway, that the iodine has worked real well for me, and because like I sometimes I'll get like little ticks, and the colloidal silver is real good too. I got my stuff. I got the colloidal silver, which is called Silver Bullet, and I got the X2 from Infowars. He's got some good products. I don't care if you like the show or not. Him and Mike Adams. Mike Adams has some awesome products. Gambit, Aaron couldn't get on. He had to go through his OBS. He couldn't even go on to go live. So somebody's in, like I said, man, Frog was in the freaking hothouse again. I already released Frog about 3 times. WO2. Yeah, no, Adeline, there's people that are hacking into the computers and everything. And that's going to be dealt with the right way. Oh, no way, Daria. You know, what's wrong with people? Can't they just get a life? Why would you hack somebody? I mean, the only thing on this thing is just, I don't know, a couple pictures and that's it. There's nothing on my laptop. We know. And Gambit, the saddest thing of all, Pat got that brand new computer. Everything he was doing musically, because Gus helped him get that program and everything so we can make music. He's got to reinstall or set it back to factory settings. He's going to lose all his stuff. I don't know if he's got it backed up or not. And that's half the issues he's having. Aaron's had issues. We've lost computers. Now, that right there is criminal. I mean, it's bad enough that you're being hacked, but they're screwing up the equipment. So I'm sure somebody would like to know about it. I'm sending the laptop. I think I'm going to send the laptop out, and I'm getting a VGA card for my main computer. And I'm going to send the laptop to somebody I know. Let them go on a little bit. Need to help my aunt. Got stuck in a snowbank. She went up the snowbank. She said, I got to see the shit. Gonna be funny. Engine tape it. So, I mean, you know, that's a criminal thing there. I mean, hacking is criminal to begin with. And but ruining other people's stuff, someone's going to have to pay. So, I mean, there's enough crap with libtards, you know what I mean? And the thing is it's somebody within the group that travels around with us. So, then I'm pretty sure I know who it is. No, engine, this is going to be good. Dev, I never got the surgeries. Heck, I didn't even know I broke my neck. Okay, I'm reading Gambit. There you go, Daria. Oh, well, I bet they are, but I don't think that the 3-letter government agencies there I don't think they want to hack in and fry people's computers. Yeah, Dev, I blew one. Actually, I think there's 3 discs blown in my neck, plus I broke it. And then osteoporosis, they're all collapsing now. Boo alert. Yeah, I mean, and flips my van. Then tells the cop she was only going 40, 45. He fell for that story. I asked her home can a van at 40 miles an hour and flip back on the four tires. Maybe she got up on two tires and then went back. No, this is Gambit. This is more personal. Dang. I mean, they don't even have to hack. They could just come in and watch the show. Or wait till it's over and read it. Yeah, I'm kind of good keeping that out of the chats because most of the time, you know what I mean. There has to be. Is that the only thing you could really do is do citizens arrests? I mean, that's about it. That's you got to do it legally. Dang. That's what I'm thinking, Club. But we've had some issues, and we're not real big people. I'm thinking it's more like somebody that runs within the circle, unless they just went on InfoWars and each individual that was in there, they're checking them out. I mean, my brother-in-law's CIA, so he's retired, but anytime he wants to know what my sister wants to know what's going on in my life, they punch me up. Yeah, no, but like I said, maybe they're picking names out of people that are in there, but we're small potatoes. And so I always said I don't want to be big. I don't need 25,000 viewers. I'd rather have a handful of people, and then you start doing a live stream, play something radio like, and get the information out there. Yeah, Ed, it's and really they could wait for the 3 hours and skip through it. So I'm small potatoes. This is something personal. I mean, come on, Aaron, Pat, Don, me, all of us, really? Yeah, but you know what, Gambit? They've been doing that since that fateful day in 2001 in September. So you know what I mean? They just go in anywhere. So I said there's nothing on my computer. What? They're gonna listen to Illuminati stuff? Yeah, right. Well, who was it? Oh, Marfugal. He got a message that he was hacked from Upper Korea. So, I mean, come on, Marf. It's a call-in show, and what he does is what he does. I look at all kinds of stuff on the internet. Well, I don't watch porn, but nothing like that. But I'm all over the place. People drop a link, I'll go there. It's like a fetch ubu thing. Fetch ubu. Roof. Uh-oh, call in. Hey, you're live. Oh,
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to talk to all of you.
it's Dev.
It's so nice to talk to all of you. Yeah, the only thing is I can't see what people are saying, so please, you're going to have to, tell me what they are saying. The Rothschilds that you had on earlier, been there, done that. And it is scary shit, isn't it? from the moment I was born. In fact, way before that, it's all been planned. World War One, World War Two. Oh, it's just sick. It's just sick.
Yeah, it's I mean they just got so much money and they're into so much crap that it's just crazy. I mean and it's almost
They run absolutely everything, really.
To know that our fate as human beings is kind of like a betting game to them. You know what I mean? Like they're playing a big game of chess.
No, we don't know. We're just sheep. We're playing. But they want to actually enslave us.
Hey, Deb, are you on speaker?
No, I'm on Bluetooth.
Okay, can you raise your voice a little? People are having a problem hearing. I got my volume all the way up.
Okay, I'll put my volume up. See how that goes. Is that better?
Is it any better?
Is it?
Hold on, I'm waiting for someone to type.
Okay. Well, see, you're kind of screaming in my head, so, you know. I'm on the same stuff I usually talk to you on.
Yeah, it is a stinky phone here. Okay, Darius got you. Go on.
Okay. So where were we? Rothschilds are shit. Elitist crap. Unless you want to continue that, that's what I got on that. People need to wake up. It's so sick what's been going on all my damn life. All my life. All your life. They've been doing the blood thing, the adrenochrome thing. This is not a political thing so much. This is a fight with good versus evil.
Oh, exactly.
This is biblical. This is biblical. This is totally biblical. I haven't read the Bible and I keep reading it. I left the church a long time ago. And I'm not going back too soon. So they dropped the ball. They dropped the ball. All the doom and gloom, all the BS. And I was a smarter teenager than I was given credit for, even to my own self.
Well, and the thing is, they can actually crash the economy when they want. I mean, they could send any country into devastation, just like Soros. Soros turns around and he'll work on a country, and then by the time he's done, it's just devastated.
Yeah, the Fed, they can crash anybody and drop. They up the way, they down. That's the way it's done.
It's just like a big game.
Yeah, but we've done it lately. You know, our president is so smart. He's kind of got the Fed in a corner. That's what at least it sounds like. You know, and I'm going to put a shout out there to people listening to look up McAllister.
Yeah. McAllister, she does a great job.
I'm getting lots of really bad stuff here. But McAllister, a.k.a. Linda Parrott, she had years ago been on CNN and SNBC, I believe, NBC, all kinds of stations, and she has written some stuff, and you can see her snarky blog. I'm hearing all kinds of feedback.
You got feedback?
Maybe I have the phone too close to me. Possible. It's starting to sound better.
Okay. I moved it. I got you sitting in my pencil holder so I could have both hands, and I moved a little bit away from the mic.
You or me, because my mic is on my head. My mic is on my head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't do much about that because it's on my head.
Yeah, you have to turn the show down because you're probably getting, a little bit of feedback.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Oh, much better. Absolutely, much better.
There you go.
Okay. Now, wait. What am I hearing that can't be my voice? Sounds like a dude. I gotta say this though. You ever noticed that AJ and InfoWars is really, really anti-Q? There is something to Q. If anybody here has touched on Mark Taylor at all, if you're Christian, if you listen to any Mark Taylor, Mark Taylor totally believes in Q, because all his prophecies that came from God are right on what Q said. So Mark Taylor totally believes in Q. And that's when I heard that, that's when I started to listen to channels once again. I'm not smart enough to go to the end and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to stop loving AJ and InfoWars. I just don't understand why they don't at all embrace the Q phenomenon. Any ideas, anybody?
What's that?
Yeah, anybody got any ideas on that? I mean, I know AJ sometimes said that Q is still, Q is not still. It's just not, it's just not.
Well, hold on. Let me turn this down a teeny bit because there's a little bit of cloudiness with the phone. Yeah. What was the question again?
Turn that down and then I'll play it.
Okay.
Okay, I was going to have a lot of stuff in my head, and I don't want tonight to fuck my husband. Thank you very much. I'm just touching upon InfoWars, AJ, and Q. Mark Taylor, Christian, was a firefighter, and God chose him to be a prophet and tell people what was going on. And he believed in peace because everything God supposedly, and I'm not going to say supposedly, everything God says, choose lines up. So he totally believes in. What I'm kind of scratching my head about is I love people. that I lost agent to the appearance of the planet is on. You know what I mean? But they reject that. And I'm like at odds to understand why.
Ed says hi.
You too?
Ed K in the chat room. He says, tell Dev Ed says hi.
Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Hi, baby.
Good night, Daria.
Not good.
Yeah, she's having problems hearing. It's his phone. I have issues hearing too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if it's maybe because you're on the headset. Because I heard you clear last night.
Yeah, well, it could be a thing in the air.
Yeah, well, it seems you always get technical issues when you're live. It's a Marf thing. Marf always says, "Oh, I Marfed that up."
So you always care about chasing anybody away. Not hard at all.
Alrighty. Well, let's people are having a bad issue. We got I don't know if it's a connection or headset or just my cheap ass phone. But let's I'm gonna go on a break for a couple minutes and then let's see. You know what? No, that's not gonna help this. Because I really Huh?
Should I hang up and call back?
Yeah, give me about 5 minutes, and then we'll see if maybe we get a better connection, because in that way everybody can interact, you know what I mean?
Well, let me redo. That might help too. No.
Okay, well, give me about 5 minutes, because I gotta use the restroom.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave.
Alrighty.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, Dev. We're gonna try to get that sound working, and I'm gonna, let's see. Who do I got to play? Got a hillbilly hologram. Now I know I downloaded some jazzy stuff. Let's see. How about some Gravel Road? I take a quick break. Be right back. This is YouTube approved. How about that? Boy, you really got to go through some stuff. No, Daria had to go. She did have issues hearing, but yeah, she's gonna try to call back, and we're gonna hope that maybe there's a better connection. I don't know, Dev. Were you wearing her headset? Because I heard you fine. No, Club. That's why you should roll your own. 1 bag of tobacco, 3 boxes of tubes will hook you up for a month. Under $30. So yeah, you had your maybe it was the headset because I heard you just fine. What we talked earlier or yesterday was it? Yeah, no, I hold on. Get a huge bag of tobacco, a box of tubes, and I have an electric. It's an injector. It cost me like $80. I also have a hand rolling machine, in case poop hits the fan. So I got enough tobacco for a year. Figure if poop ever hits the fan, man, I'll be selling it in little baggies or rolling them for people, Like, what is it? The firearms people. Hey, Enigma. So, yeah, like poop hits the fan. The last thing they're going to think about is somebody, selling little freaking cigarettes or something or bartering. I'm surprised they haven't made that illegal yet. So, okay, Dev. Yeah, about the same time. I didn't wake up till like 4. It was like around 7 when I got my first cup of coffee. We'll try that without the headset and see how that goes. But yeah, it's like I said, it's what, maybe it's not much, maybe $7 a week for cigarettes. And I do smoke a lot. I was doing good. I was down like 4. And I gotta hide back in the cave here because Kev stopped smoking. So I'm banned from smoking in the rest of the house. I keep the window open and usually the fan's going. So yeah. And I always, what's the few things that, if poop hits the fan, what are you not going to be able to get? Medications, can't help anyone there. Cigarettes and booze. I remember selling bubble gum in school. What was it, 5 cents or 10 cents for a piece of gum? We always hustled people for something. Yeah, Club, I learned to make, I'm actually going to try to make some moonshine. I learned how to make brandy, cognac. I already know how to make wine. Oh, okay. What'd you come up with, Gambit? I never did any of that. Mostly like bubble gum, whatever. Did you find anything, Gambit? I saw that. I had some up in, yeah. Wonder why that is, Gambit. You gotta use the headset. I don't know if nobody's gonna be able to hear you, Dev. That's right, you probably have to be on. Well, you just kind of talk like you're just on the phone. Yeah, I think I remember seeing that reality show, But I was out in the West Virginia mountains, and this one guy made peach flavored moonshine. I think he sold it for $60 a mason jar or something, but it was like 190 proof. And you got to make sure when you make that, the first 50 milliliters, 50 to 80 milliliters. The one guy did 80 milliliters because that'll come out, and it's oh goodness. What, oh man, it's that fuel that they use for the race cars, ethanol. So, you know, a lot of people just throw it away, but I don't know. I'd end up making that's something, Gambit. I don't know. I think I'd still keep the ethanol, but it's really interesting. The first one I watched was this old hillbilly, and you know they should. I already got an idea on how to make it up. You know, it's just a small thing for me myself, but if poop ever hit the fan, you know, I'd be a useful idiot. And I got potatoes. That was an accident, but I got potatoes growing under the back stairs. So it was like one of those bags. I had set it out by the trash, and Kev didn't find it. And I don't like going out the back door because the steps are messed up. I already got tangled up in them. I'm telling you, this house is set to kill us. I broke my foot in a hole. We moved in. I said, I don't like the back stairs. Oh, we got to fill in them holes. They're dangerous. Well, the back stairs never got fixed. The holes never got filled in. So, you know, it was like right before the holidays. Man, I was so busted up when the grandkids were here. He come running in, Grandpa, Meemaw's all tangled up in the stairs. So, I mean, I was hobbling around, and a year later, I was going into my car, and I opened the door, right? And lo and behold, I stepped back, drove myself to the hospital. I said, I think I broke my foot. They said, yeah, you did. They're like, you got somebody with you, right? Oh, yes. I come out with a soft cast on my foot, man. I had that thing on for 12 weeks. Yeah, Gambit. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, but you know what? Everything I said was dangerous. Bam. I had a vent in the middle of the floor, you know, for the ductwork when you turn on the heat and everything. Never even thought about it. Who doesn't screw that stuff down? I mean, it's a tile floor. They just popped it in and it was loose. The dog flipped it up. She got all excited because I was making her dinner. And I just turned around and put one step up and went bloop right down in. And I swear I chipped my elbow. Yeah, all the shenanigans, Gambit. I was like, you know what? I'm not going into places. Yeah, but I didn't spill the dog food, Ed. How cool was that? But I was messed up for a month. I'm telling you, man, it's this house. I'm like, get out. I mean, you know, they can't just write you a little letter. Get out. Leave. No, I got to get all busted up. But I mean, you know, the thing's right there, right by the sink, right by the cabinets. I went, bing. Yeah, 3 months. I had to keep coming back, and I don't know how many times I've broken feet, broken fingers. I always think y'all. You leaving us, Gambit? Yeah, you know, neck, toes, fingers, no wrist yet, no knees, thank goodness. Oh, and then one time I had a box and I was trying to get to the microwave and I went to like cross over it. Well, I fell then too. It's like, you know, I've never had more accidents in one home. I don't have to leave. Oh, okay. So, yeah, Dev again. Let's see if we can get her better this time. There you go, Dev.
there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Any better?
I'm here.
Does your sound any better?
Not really. I think it's just my phone.
Yeah, that you need a new phone. You need a new phone. I think your phone is done. How old is it? 5?
Maybe because it's on speaker for me that it's just bad coming out of there.
Are you on speaker? I mean, what are you doing over there?
Yeah, I have to have you on speaker so they can hear you through the mic.
Maybe that shouldn't be done. I mean,
yeah, well, I'm one of them people where the phone's my enemy. I mean, up until recently, I usually just kept it off. Somehow or another, the alarm was set on it, and it would go off about 7 in the morning, and after about like 2 days, it would just die down. So, because I'm like hearing impaired, it's kind of hard, you know.
Well, yours really loud in my head.
Okay.
I'm hearing impaired.
Yeah, I got the volume all the way up and all.
Can they hear me? Can anybody else hear me?
Yeah, no, they're not hearing you good. Gambit's saying he can hear us. Ed, he says it sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher. It's hard for him to understand.
You sound like Charlie Brown's teacher.
Yeah, right? Wah.
You need to be loud. It goes crazy when it's loud. You can't hear it as well. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, you know? But, because I'm just talking normal. I'm talking like to in the room. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right. I'm talking to you like you're sitting close. And I don't want to talk any louder because I don't want to disturb in your head nor for anybody else.
Yeah, Kev's all the way on the other side of the house. I like the way this is laid out. I mean, that you got the master bedroom all the way that way with the bathroom, and then all the way back here. So.
Yeah, we don't have a master bedroom. So if they can't hear you right, I don't know. On my end, everything's good, except when you are loud and you get distorted. Other than that, everything's great on my end. So I'm not quite understanding. If it's the phone, it ain't mine.
So, I mean, about,
my phone is pretty good, actually.
So, about the Illuminati and everything, yeah, it's kind of weird that a bunch of inbreds, you know, like the Rothschilds,
I know.
You know, for one, they inbreed, and we already know what happens to inbreed. Hey, Froggy, it's Dev.
They're insane. They're not.
Yeah, I mean, anything with inbreeding, you're going to have some freaks of nature.
Yeah, psychopath. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. There is like, what is it, 33, 31, 33 bloodlines, families that are up spread out. I'll tell you what, the UK is into some kind of savage.
Yeah.
Yeah. because the whole world family is deep, deep in the shit. Big time. Very nasty. Very nasty. Yeah, they are. So, I mean, I'm going to plug McAllister again. Because she's a girl, You get Fiber Snark. She's a lot of fun. And she's serious, too. And that's what I like.
She's got a great speaking voice for what she does.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she does. So does Weeping Angel.
Oh, okay.
Check out. Yeah, Weeping Angel. She's got a great voice. Great voice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she does. Awesome voice. And she's very good and very on target also.
McAllister, she does some Q posts, doesn't she?
Absolutely.
Yep.
She was part of the book that came out. Oh, by the way, anybody in earshot, Corsi is a shit. John Corsi, he is not to be trusted. He is not to be trusted anymore. So that's just a shout out again. And I know he's an old man and everything, but evil don't come in any age. It just doesn't. If I explain, oh, poor baby, I'm watching a vet show. So, I watch veterinarian shows because I love animals.
Right.
I mean, I just love animals. What you doing today? You going to get the zoo?
So, but just
Sorry.
with the whole Rothschild thing and now Jefferson, that was a big surprise to me. I mean, I didn't think he had ties, but then again, they say they all have ties. Everybody that's been a president.
But you know what? I'm not sure that all the way back then it was as bad as it developed into. So that would take quite a bit of research. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not going to throw the forefathers under the bus. Because how many times have they changed history? How many times have they done that?
Well,
I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Everybody with a brain should know that.
I have a good friend, and he turned me on to Enki and Enel. And what he said was, yeah. And, well, no, man, I've checked it out, and it seems like it could happen. He says, but every 5,000 to 6,000 years, humanity resets. Now, like Crazy Kotex, she's like, oh, the world's going to end in 12 years. So, I mean, she's... So, and what...
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. I just love that.
Yeah. So, like, what he's saying is, with the reset of humanity, it's every 5,000 to 6,000 years, and there's this thing between the brothers, Enel and Inkle, and Inkle. Oh, jeez. So anyway,
what?
Well, I'm trying to tell you the story about it. No. I'll have to drop you a link and you can check it out. But anyway, what happened was there were like gods, occasional. I call her Kotex, Ed. Occasional Kotex. She's a freak. On a good day, I guess we call her
I
tampon.
know.
On a good day, we call Kotex tampon because she's an occasional Kotex.
Did I ever tell you that when I laugh, here comes Bella? Bella has a thing about when I laugh. She can be asleep all day until the hours, and I start laughing. Here she comes. I'm sorry, just like this. She's really funny. She is really funny. She is my little resident. Bella, maybe it was a kibble, it's not for mama. She's my president. Funny girl. Really good. She's good. I'm so good that, you're going to have that. And you know that you're doing 2, 3, 4, how many? That's 2 cats, 1 dog, right?
Who, me?
Cats. Yeah.
No, I got 3 cats, a dog, and a parrot.
Jesus. Bella, no nibble. She's a fighting problem. I've never had a cat like her. And I never had a cat that just wanted to nibble. And I don't mean food. She's been consistently 9 pounds lower for like 15 between pretty much in a few years, 77. She doesn't act like not at all. But she likes to go, and go at you. She's terrible baby, but I love her so much. And she just goes crazy when I laugh. So I made her laugh, and she comes out with woodwork. I didn't even know what she was. So I apologize to the audience for the Bella interrupting. That's it. That's just a little bit of a comedy interruption. And she's got short legs. So do I, who cares? Anyway, back to the rock file.
So, and that deer disease, the CWD, that has jumped species. Now there's some humans that contracted it. I think it's Michigan and Florida, which to me is a little bit odd because most things, I mean, like rabies, humans can get, but that animal has to bite you. I think I was talking about this in the beginning of the show. And it's kind of like the way that's spreading is through animal feces, urine, and the way they described it with the deers is like their heads kind of get droopy down, their tongue hangs out. Now, I don't know exactly, I mean, for one, how do they even figure this out? You know what I mean? Because
I've seen it on TV.
Yeah.
But actually, what I saw was that they get growth or something, kind of growth or something on their head. And then they kind of just act nuts and kind of walk funny and then
kind of like they're drunk.
Typically in like circles and stuff. And I did hear that they were worried that it could possibly pass the season.
Well,
and that concerns me. They have here. That concerns me.
These were confirmed cases with humans, but it's so new. I'm wondering how the heck do they even know it unless maybe dun, 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 it was something purposeful. Because usually, you know, I mean, well, there was the exception of the bird flu, swine flu, um, but to figure out, you know, for one, the symptoms on a human being and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I mean,
Mhm.
how did the humans
Yeah.
even catch it? I mean, I'm sure they're not out there playing in deer dung, and I'm sure, you know, a deer didn't come up and
He
pee on their
probably
teeth.
has deer dung all over, or they call it that. He probably has that all over our yard, and he sees deer regularly. You
I
know,
I would
a
imagine.
month does not go by without seeing deer at least several times. You know what I'm saying?
I would imagine so, like gardens. I mean, especially with youth, you got them through your yard and everything. If you plant a garden,
Yeah, not anymore. Not anymore. I used to.
well, if
But
other
my
people
back is more fit.
if other people do, I'm thinking of, you know, chicken wiring it in, you know, so you don't get little varmints in case, you know, little bunnies or something like that, you know, because that's all
Yeah,
wild
we have
stuff.
other issues, like a huge black walnut tree. I hate black walnuts. If I ever relocate in my life, I haven't seen a black walnut tree within 100 yards. I hate that species of tree. I want them all dead. If I was queen of the world, I would outlaw black walnuts and yucca plants. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I hate the shoot things. So, you with black walnuts, you would probably back window in the fall, and they start chopping these things in the summer. They're supposed to get the leaves, and then they're supposed to lose them. And they have these huge things, and you have a huge tree that's really tall. If you're under it and just like drop one of these things, it could probably kill you.
Right.
They're very heavy. Yeah, they're terrible. I hate them. I'm sorry, go on. I'm just providing a little bit of ha-ha for everyone.
Right. So yeah, I mean that's something that I'll definitely be checking out this week. Now I don't know if anything came over the main news or not. I mean, I personally know somebody and their godchild, you know, got diagnosed
Oh,
with that.
yeah, well,
So I mean, it's somebody.
That's terrible. Remember mad cow disease?
Yeah. I know. Well, that all happened because they were taking.
You know that's fun.
Yeah, they were feeding cows. It's
Right,
like Kuru
right.
for humans.
Right. Exactly. I didn't even have to tell you that, do I? You're all over the internet just like I am. So we are two of a kind. Oh my gosh, yes, exactly. I've been claiming it for home. And of course, my handkerchief really died around it. But you know, I wear one of those for a while. I'm just princess, right? But he hangs out with my and this guy is lovely. Maybe not as much as me or you, but he's more like the chance. And I'll say something to him. He goes, I know. I'm like, how do you know? He goes, I know. I'm like, Tim. Thank you, Tim. Here's Tim. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Right.
oh, I can't tell him nothing. I can't tell him nothing. But Tim did say something. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know what? Tim likes Crowder. I like Crowder too, but then things didn't know. Stuff like that. So what's the next subject?
Well,
Alex
just
Jones. Alex Jones. What in the hell is going on?
I didn't actually get to see him today. I slept through the show.
Trump has got to do something about this.
You think? Why?
This is getting way out of hand. The other night, I didn't tell anybody. Remember when I don't think it was nighttime yet, but yeah, I think it was definitely in the beginning. The day that, or maybe it was the next day, that we had this DHQ problem, and I had gotten so sick from the scene. And I was talking about it, because everybody's firing questions at me, of course. And YouTube said, you're talking too much. Why don't you just say? And I was like, you do. My friends ask me questions, making sure I'm all right, and you intervene and tell me I'm typing too much? What the heck is that? You know? That's insane.
Yeah, well, if you don't hold a wrench, it kind of does that to you.
Trying to think, where was I at? Was it gone? Okay, maybe I didn't have my lunch done. I have a lunch at Dawn's now. You just did it to me like it was either yesterday or Friday. But yeah, that might be something to it. That might have something to do with it. Thanks, bro. That makes sense. That makes sense. One of these days we need to have a combo about how I use that. It's a long time to be out because I don't know what I'm doing with it, so I'm not going to touch it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't hurting anybody.
No, I hear you.
You know? I'm not going to hurt nobody. And I'm just not going to do that. But I need, I like it only as, not a weapon, but as defense. So I'm glad when somebody gives me a punch, I'm going to let them give me a punch. Because I've been attacked before. And there's nobody saying I'm not going to be attacked again. So if I have a wrench, I have a weapon to protect myself. But I don't know how to use it. So maybe one of these days you can help me with that.
Yeah. All right, Dev, let's wrap it up. It's like 10 after. Gonna get back to playing the show. And thank you for calling in. It's always nice to hear from you.
Okay.
All right, Dev, good night.
Love you, girl.
Love you too.
All right, bye-bye.
Aha. Back to the show.
For our Machiavellian plotters.
I love this guy's
The
voice.
same elected leaders in both houses of Congress and the same Mr. Woodrow Wilson, who signed the infamous Federal Reserve Act into law, amended the Constitution to make the federal income tax, known as the 16th Amendment, a law of the land. Both are illegal under our Constitution. In short, the same traitors signed both betrayals, the Federal Reserve Act and the 16th Amendment, into law. However, it seems that nobody ever realized that the 16th Amendment was set up to rob, and I do mean rob, the people of their earnings via the income tax provision. The plotters didn't fully use that provision until World War II, when that great humanitarian, Franklin Roosevelt, applied a 20% withholding tax on all small wage earners and up to 90% on higher incomes. Oh, of course, he faithfully promised that it would be only for the duration of the war. But what was a promise to such a charlatan who in 1940, when he was running for his third term, kept proclaiming, "I say again and again and again that I will never send American boys to fight on foreign soil." Remember? He was proclaiming that even as he was already preparing to plunge us into World War II by enticing the Japanese into that sneak attack on Pearl Harbor to furnish him with his excuse. And before I forget, let me remind you that another charlatan named Woodrow Wilson used exactly that same campaign slogan in 1916.
Exactly.
His slogan was, "Re-elect the man who will keep your sons out of the war." Exactly the same formula, exactly the same promises. But wait, as Al Jolson used to say, you ain't heard nothing yet. That 16th Amendment income tax trap was intended to confiscate, rob, the earnings only of the common herd, you and me. It was not intended to even touch the huge incomes of the Illuminati gang, the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, the Lehmans, and all the other conspirators. So together with that 16th Amendment, they created what they called the tax-free foundations. That would enable the conspirators to transform their huge wealth into such so-called foundations and avoid payment of virtually all income taxes. The excuse for it was that the earnings of those tax-free foundations would be devoted to humanitarian philanthropy. So we now have the several Rockefeller foundations, the Carnegie Endowment Fund, the Ford Foundation, the Mellon Foundation, and hundreds of similar tax-free foundations. And what kind of philanthropy do these foundations support? Well, they finance all the civil rights groups that are creating all the chaos and rioting all over the country. In short, the tax-free foundation finance those who are doing the job for the Illuminati Great Conspiracy. Our CFR Illuminati-controlled federal government can grant tax-free status to all foundations and pro-red one-word outfits, such as the
And we
Fund for
wonder
the
why
Republic.
Hillary has
But
a
if you
foundation,
or a patriotic
Obama has a
pro-organization
foundation.
is too outspokenly pro-American, they can terrify and intimidate you by finding a misplaced comma in your income tax report and by threatening you with penalties, fines, and even prison. Future historians will wonder how the American people could have been so naive and stupid as to have permitted such audaciously.
And oddly, I believe it's in, is it the Constitution that you can't be jailed for debt, right? Well, the IRA says you owe us. Isn't that a debt? Just saying.
Brazen acts of treason as the Federal Reserve Act and the 16th Amendment. Well, they were not naive and they were not stupid. The answer is they trusted the men they elected to safeguard our country and our people. And they just didn't have even an inkling about either betrayal until after each one had been accomplished. It was the Illuminati-controlled mass communications media that kept and is keeping our people naive and stupid and unaware of the treason being committed. Now the great question is, when will the people wake up and do to our traitors of today what George Washington and our founding fathers would have done to Benedict Arnold? Actually, Benedict Arnold was a petty traitor compared to our present traitors in Washington. Now let's go back to the events that followed the rape of our Constitution by the passage of the Federal Reserve Act of the 16th Amendment. With Wilson completely under their control, the masterminds of the Great Conspiracy put in motion their next and what they hoped would be their final steps to achieve their one-world government. The first of those steps was to be World War I. Why war? Simple. The only excuse for a one-world government is that it will supposedly ensure peace. The only thing that can make people cry for peace is war. War brings chaos, destruction, exhaustion, to winner as well as to loser. It brings economic ruin to both. Most important, it destroys the flower of the young manhood of both. To the saddened and heartbroken oldsters, the mothers and fathers,
Well, now I got
who are left
opinions,
with nothing but
Gambit.
memories
You
of
know
their
that.
beloved sons, peace becomes worth any price. And that is the emotion upon which the conspirators depend for the success of their satanic plot. Throughout the 19th century, from 1814 to 1914, the world as a whole was at peace. Such wars as the Franco-Prussian, our own Civil War, the Russo-Japanese War, were what might be termed local disturbances
No
that
beer.
did not affect the rest of the world. All the great nations were prosperous, the peoples staunchly nationalistic and fiercely proud of their sovereignties. It was utterly unthinkable that the French and the German peoples would be willing to live under a one-world government, or the Turks and the Russians, or the Chinese and the Japanese. Even more unthinkable that a Kaiser Wilhelm, or a Franz Joseph, or a Tsar Nicholas, or any monarch would willingly and meekly surrender his throne to a one-world government. But bear in mind that the peoples in all nations are the real power, and only one thing, war, could make the peoples yearn and clamor for a peace-ensuring one-world government. But it would have to be a frightful and horribly devastating war. It could not be just a local disturbing war between just two nations. It would have to be a world war. No major nation must be left untouched by the horrors and devastation of such a war. The cry for peace must be made universal. Actually, that was the format set by the Illuminati and Nathan Rothschild at the turn of the 19th century. They first maneuvered all of Europe into the Napoleonic Wars. Then the Congress in Vienna, which they, and particularly Rothschild, planned to transform into a League of Nations, which was to have been the housing for their one-world government, exactly as the present United Nations was set up to be the housing for the forthcoming, God forbid, one-world government. Anyway, that was the format the House of Rothschild and Jacob Schiff decided to employ to achieve their objective in 1914. Of course, they knew that that same format had failed in 1814, but they theorized that was only because the Tsar of Russia had torpedoed that scheme. Well, the present 1914 conspirators would eliminate that 1814 fly in the ointment. They'd make sure that after the New World War, they were conspiring, there'd be no Tsar of Russia around to throw monkey wrenches into the machinery. History records that World War I was precipitated by a trivial incident, the kind of incident both Weishaupt and Albert Pike had incorporated in their blueprints. That incident was the assassination of an Austrian archduke, arranged by the Illuminati masterminds. The war followed. It involved Germany, Austria-Hungary, and their allies, so-called the Axis powers, against France, Britain, and Russia, called the Allies. Only the United States was not involved during the first 2 years. By 1917, the conspirators had achieved their primary objective. All of Europe was in a state of destitution. All the peoples were war-weary and crying for peace. And the outcome, too, was all set. It was to come as soon as the United States would be hurled in on the side of the Allies. And that was all set to happen immediately after Wilson's re-election. After that, there could be only one outcome: complete victory for the Allies. When Wilson was campaigning for re-election in 1916, his chief appeal was, re-elect the man who will keep your sons out of the war. But during that same campaign, the Republican Party publicly charged that Wilson had long committed himself to throw us into the war. They charged that if he would be defeated, he would accomplish that act during his few remaining months in office. but if re-elected, he would hold off until after re-election. But at that time, the American people looked upon Wilson as a god man. Well, Wilson was re-elected, and as per the schedule of the conspirators, he hurled us into the war in 1917. He used the sinking of the Lusitania as an excuse, a sinking which also was prearranged. Roosevelt, also a god man in the eyes of the American people, followed the same technique in 1941 when he used the prearranged Pearl Harbor attack as his excuse for hurling us into World War II. Now, exactly as the conspirators planned, victory for the Allies would eliminate all the monarchs of the defeated nations and leave all their peoples leaderless, confused, bewildered, and perfectly conditioned for the one world government the great conspiracy intended would follow. But there still would be an obstacle, the same obstacle that had balked the Illuminati and Rothschild at that Congress in Vienna peace gathering after the Napoleonic Wars. Russia would be on the winning side this time, as it was in 1814. Therefore, the Tsar would be securely on his throne. Here it is pertinent to note that Russia, under the Tsarist regime, had been the one country in which the Illuminati had never made any headway, nor had the Rothschilds ever been able to infiltrate their banking interests. Thus, a winning Tsar would be more difficult than ever to cope with. Even if he could be enticed into a so-called League of Nations, it was a foregone conclusion that he would never, but never go for a one-world government. So even before the outbreak of World War I, the conspirators had a plan in the making to carry out Nathan Rothschild's vow of 1814 to destroy the Tsar and also murder all possible royal heirs to the throne. And it would have to be done before the close of the war, and the Russian Bolsheviki were to be their instruments in this particular plot. From the turn of the century, the chiefs of the Bolsheviki were Nikolai Lenin, Leon Trotsky, and later Joseph Stalin. Of course, those were not their true family names. Prior to the outbreak of the war, Lenin headquartered in Paris. After the outbreak, Switzerland became his haven. Trotsky's headquarters were on the Lower East Side in New York, largely the habitat of Russian Jewish refugees. Both Lenin and Trotsky were similarly bewhiskered and unkempt. In those days, that was the badge of Bolshevism. Both lived well, yet neither had a regular occupation. Neither had any visible means of support, yet both always had plenty of money. All those mysteries were solved in 1917. Right from the outset of the war, strange and mysterious goings-on were taking place in New York. Night after night, Trotsky darted furtively in and out of Jacob Schiff's palatial mansion. And in the dead of those same nights, there were gatherings of hoodlums of New York's Lower East Side, all of them Russian refugees, at Trotsky's headquarters, and all were going through some mysterious sort of training process. But it was all shrouded in mystery. Nobody talked, although it did leak out that Schiff was financing all of Trotsky's activities. Then suddenly Trotsky vanished. So did approximately 300 of his trained hoodlums. Actually, they were on the high seas in a Schiff-chartered ship bound for a rendezvous with Lenin and his gang in Switzerland. And on that ship was $20 million in gold, the $20 million Schiff provided to finance the Bolsheviki takeover of Russia. In anticipation of Trotsky's arrival, Lenin prepared to throw a party in his Switzerland hideaway. Men of the very highest places in the world were to be guests at that party. Among them were the mysterious Colonel Edward Mandell House, Woodrow Wilson's mentor and palsy-walsy, and more important, Schiff's special and confidential messenger. Another of the expectant guests was Warburg of the Warburg banking clan in Germany, who were financing the Kaiser, and whom the Kaiser had rewarded by making him chief of the secret police of Germany. In addition, there were the Rothschilds of London and Paris, also Litvinov, Kaganovich, Stalin, who was then head of a train and bank robbing gang of bandits. He was known as the Jesse James of the Urals. And here I must remind that England and France were then long in war with Germany.